Hello, honorable members of the clan. So let's go to the Gauteng High Court for the last time today on the 2nd of June 2025 in the Senzo Mewa murder trial. So guys, I want to speak on 3 points in this video and I don't want to make it too long. The first one is the diary. You know what? I am beginning to think that the South African Police Service, the way it's in such tatters, is because there is no order. I don't think there is any order that the police in this country need to follow like any other democracy. If you go to other democracies where the law enforcement and the rule of law is being followed to the T, is doing very well, and they are doing an incredible job in making sure that processes are followed. Not only processes are followed, but also crime, it is controlled. And you're wondering why in South Africa crime is so out of control. It is not only because you have people that seem to be raised by a pack of wolves and they are roaming the streets, causing all kinds of havoc in other people's lives, but the criminal justice system itself. Remember, the criminal justice system starts with us, the community members of society, because as a society, we need to put together a set of rules, regulations, which at the end of the day, it's called public policy. And that public policy, it is enforced by the people we call the police. So if we are in tatters ourselves at the grassroots, what do you think is going to happen with the police force itself? It's going to be in tatters. And then from the criminal justice system, we need to have a judiciary system that works independently so that the cases that they take and they hear and adjudicate to, they are judged on merit. Now, if the chaos is at the grassroots and at the people that are supposed to be enforcing it, how is the judiciary supposed to then come to a conclusion that seems justifiable? Because it is messed up at this middle level, which is the law enforcement. Now, the law enforcement, they are not following anything from what I'm seeing. I mean, it is so shocking to hear an entire brigadier who has been in the service for the past 30 years to adamantly say, there's no such a thing that we need to go to a police station, even though we are right there at its parking lot, to go and say, hey, listen, for the dignity of the suspect, because that is enshrined in our Constitution in Section 35 and also in Section 10 of the Constitution, that you as the police, you need to treat me with dignity, even though I am a suspect. Remember, I am innocent until proven guilty. And even if I am guilty, you still need to treat me like a human being, and humanely on top of that. Now, which brings us back to the accusation that Mnisi made about the time he was picked up and he messed himself up because he was being tortured. He was so tortured that he actually messed himself up. I don't have to explicitly mention what do I mean by that. Well, I think the only acceptable term here is soiled himself. And so he was sent back to his home to change. Obviously to change and not to take a bath and clean himself up. And then continued on that day. He was arrested and they did the things they did to him. By the time he was meeting Gininda at 7 p.m., he was like, I'm not going to sit inside that car with him. Remember, it was a red VW, which I think it was the white BMW. That is why Gininda was like, you're not going to sit in the car that I'm driving smelling like that. Let's rather put you on the floor of the parking lot and I will talk to you. Possibly threaten you that if you are not going to make that confession, those men standing right there, they are going to make you too. And indeed, he was already afraid because they've been cooking him during the course of the day. And by the time they met the mastermind, he was already in fear for his life. At the point where he was signing, he said there was blood spatters. Don't we have what do you call, Americans call it aluminum? In South Africa, I think we call it aluminum. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. To check any stains of blood. I know that if you put that thing on, it shows that indeed there is a presence of blood on these documents. If we're not having that type of technology in South Africa, then how many more innocent people are jail today for crimes they did not commit? You are at the police station. The question I'm asking, because it's busy saying, hey, the Constitution doesn't tell us that, in order to get confessions or whatever, we need to be in an office in a police station. Then what's the point of having police stations if you are going to have these things? And I did say this before Mnisi said it. It's as if we and I on each other's head, because I was asking, this has been bothering me since trial within the trial, that they met at the police station grounds, a parking lot, instead of going into the police station. Because I think if you go into the police station, there are, or at least I assume, there are resources that Gininda can use. Number one, the cameras at the police station. And then if there's an interrogation room, the interrogation room is going to be resourced with all the things that are needed so that this is a solid case. And beyond a reasonable doubt, the state has a prospect of winning the case, because they can pull out all of those resources and then present them as evidence and show that indeed he was not harmed, he was in his good mind, sober, and also knew exactly what he was doing at the time. All of these things, we cannot prove it. None of these things can be proven. Everything is he said. Moses said, I was tortured to make something that I did not do, while Gininda is saying, he came voluntarily and freely and said, oh, I want to go spend the rest of my life, my young life, in prison for a crime I did not commit. Make that make sense. The fact that they avoided going into the police station, who were they avoiding? Witnesses? Cameras? What were they running away from? Because if we say there are no cameras. The only thing that is watching you is nature and the higher power that you are going to have to deal with at some point in your life for what you are putting innocent people through. Then I ask, point number 2, what is the point of a police station? I thought a police station is not just a charge office. It is also a place where police doing the job that Gininda claims he has done in a police station, in an interrogation room. Don't we have interrogation rooms? Don't we have proper infrastructure in the police stations in order for confessions to hold water? If this is not the case, then the lawmakers, I hope you are watching and learning what you all need to do there in Parliament. You need to mandate the police, whenever they have a suspect, not to interview the suspect in some dingy place with no lights, because he said the only lights that were on was the ones in his vehicle, because the parking lot does not have lights. Again, convenient. Who were you running away from, or what were you running away from, so that you are not seen with Muzi Emma Bogo? Injured, bleeding, smelling. Because clearly, if he walked into the Vosloorus police station looking the way he says he was being treated the whole day, there will be police officers who will take the stand and say, yes, I remember that day. So that's what they were running away from. And then the other thing that caught my attention, let me see, my note says, called to suspect talking to the least, Gininda should have when Gininda was called by Mogola, wherever he was, I'm assuming he was in Pretoria. From Pretoria, he could have made a call to the station commander at Vosloorus police station as he's driving there, saying, hey guys, listen, I'm expecting a suspect who may be confessing to the unaliving of Senzomea, and it's a case that I am working on since last year, since the cold case unit was opened. Which is another convenience, by the way, don't you think? A court case unit is open in 2019, and its main case is a Senzo Mayo. And out of the blue, somebody just walks up to them and say, "I want to confess. Forget about the arms and whatnot not that he's already convicted for. But I have a big fish, and it's me and my other colleagues." It still doesn't sound, it sounds insane. It doesn't sound like a person who is right up here in their mind. So as I'm saying, Gininda, all you should have done from Pretoria to Vosloorus, how many minutes of drive is that? And speak to the station commander to either book the interrogation room or reserve the interrogation room or some room in the Vosloorus police station so that he can have his suspect question him there and then evaluate all the stuff that he said he had done so that it can also be proven. The station commander be called on the stand and say, yes, he made that call. And then we provided him with office number 2 or with interrogation number 13 or something. Interrogation room number 13. But all of these things he did not do. And then he says they were passing. So you're driving all the way from Pretoria for people who are passing. That means they still had to wait for you. And there's ample time for asking for a spot inside the police station so that you can do a proper job that gives also dignity to an innocent person until proven guilty. That is what Section 35 of the Constitution says and entails. But now Gininda gets on the stand and he wants to manipulate and interpret it to basically gaslight the defense by saying, well, the Constitution doesn't say that we can question a person in the police station. And then Mnisi comes back and claps real hard and say, but the Constitution also doesn't say anywhere you can interrogate or question a witness. So what do we do about that? Which one cancels the other? Which goes back to the lawmakers who have to make sure that the police understand what processes they need to follow. When it comes to questioning people, then there needs to be an addendum or whatever the case might be that says the police station. And those police stations need to be equipped with proper interrogation or interview equipment in those stations. Hi, man. You know, I was telling somebody, I think it was Noni, I was saying, you know, by the time this case ends, we will be qualified to be police officers, investigators, and even lawyers. Because the way we are learning out of this case is incredible stuff. Things that just don't make sense at all. Gininda is waffling on that stand. Waffling. I mean, how many times Mr. Mnisi even will go, yeah. And I was like the same way. I'm frustrated by a man who is not answering the question regarding his own investigation. So then how is this credible? How is this case credible? It's not credible. It's never been credible from the get-go because the correct people are not the accused. They are not the accused. The mastermind is still not arrested, apparently, still roaming the streets of South Africa. The one that put a hit on Senzo Mayo. She's still free. And you would think with her name all over news and in court, somebody might have said, okay, fine, let's do this. No. Living her best life. And yet, she is tainted. This doesn't, what's going on, Vele in South Africa? What is happening? What is happening? Anyways, guys, those are the 3 points that I picked up in the late segment of the cross-examination by Mr. Mnisi. And Mr. Mnisi is doing a brilliant job. I mean, he came with a sharp mind and he's coming at Gininda and he was not prepared for what Mr. Mnisi has for him. Now he's dug himself another hole about interpreting the Constitution, Section 35, in his own way, where he is challenging Mr. Mnisi. Basically, he's even gaslighting Mr. Mnisi by saying the Constitution does not say that you can interrogate or interview a suspect in a police station. So you can do it absolutely everywhere. So now we will want to see in Section 35 of the Constitution that says what he is saying is correct. Where is the dignity of the suspect? because the Constitution of the Republic is a supreme law of the country and you need to follow it. That also includes the dignity of the suspect. And interviewing somebody in a car or interrogating somebody in a car, not in a proper structure of the criminal justice system, which is the police station, or even a courtroom or some sort. That's an indignity. It's a violation of the suspect's dignity. So here we are. Here we are. Anyways, guys, if you have your own opinions regarding what happened in court today, please do not hesitate by throwing it down there in the comment section. And even you two guys whose stuff flies over your heads, you're welcome to make a comment. We all know what that comment is going to be. Other than that, guys, please don't leave this video without liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye.